Hi, I'm Rick Casner with Sonoran Desert Institute, and we also have Jarred McNeely. He's the Dean of Firearms Instruction at Sonoran Desert Institute, and tonight we're going to be talking about why would somebody come to SDI, and more specifically, why would they choose a remote learning experience to learn the art of gunsmithing. So the questions and the things that we're going to be talking about this evening are based on comments that we've seen in posts, comments that we've just been seeing floating around out there. So I hope you enjoyed the video.
One of the things we hear is, how can we learn gunsmithing at a distance? And it's a combination of things. It's a combination of one, curriculum, the instructors that are delivering that curriculum, as well as the students that are taking that curriculum in. They all have to interact together. If you've got good curriculum, projects that are well thought out that help build the students' skills. You've got instructors that are there to help mentor your students through those skills as they're working on them. And then you've got students that are ready to take instruction and willing to learn in a distance environment. It really can come together in a great synergy to produce an amazing product. And so, the question is, can you learn gunsmithing at a distance? And yes, the answer is yes, you can. It takes hard work by a lot of different people to get that to happen, to include not only our staff and our instructors, but our students. Our students work hard at this, and they accomplish things as they do this. So, the easy answer is yes.
Yeah, and I think my perspective on it as well is technology has come so far. I got into the industry 13 years ago. 10 years ago, I graduated from gunsmithing school about 10 or 11 years ago. And back then, pretty much all we had were cutaway firearms where you have little windows milled into a 1911 or some revolvers, and you're trying to see inside these little windows of the movement of the sear, the movement of the hammer, how these things engage or interact with each other. And now the animations we're making at SDI, the whole gun is cut away. You can see everything, and I can't begin to tell you how much growth I've made after even having been a gunsmith, having had the experiences I've had in the industry, and then coming to SDI and seeing these animations, and there's a whole lot of aha moments that our students are getting. They're catapulting far beyond what I was able to get at the brick and mortar school. With the instructors right there, with all that hands-on experience, but our students actually have a great benefit with the use of technology.
Yeah, the technology's improved an immense amount. You think back. I'm an old Army guy. I'm an old soldier. And you look back at some of the old, like, World War II training videos that the Army did, and the static displays and these oversized guns where they took parts and put them together and showed you how each and every part worked, and the technology has come so far forward from those ideas, and it's amazing. We'll wake up tomorrow and the technology will be different, and you wake up the following day and it's advanced again. It's an amazing time right now. I used to joke that gun technology really hasn't moved forward in the last 100 years. If you stop and think about the bolt-action rifle, the 98 Mauser came out, and a lot of the features, the safeties, the parts, the way that gun functions most modern bolt rifles use some portion of that. They may flip it on its head and lay it out in a slightly different way, but the technology is basically the same. But I think what you're going to see in the next few years is an amazing leap in technology inside of the firearms industry. How that's going to play out, I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, but it's we're poised to do that, and it'll be interesting to see what the firearms industry does with it. But the education industry, the schools that take people and teach them how to do things are absolutely embracing the jumps in technology, and so you're seeing great gains in how students learn, where they can learn, when they can learn, and so it's neat to see all of that. It's fun to be involved in that.
Yeah, I have a question for Jarred, and Jarred is a great person to ask this because he is in charge of the curriculum at SDI, and as a faculty member, I hear a lot of our students. They have input, they have feedback, and maybe some of them will wonder what happens to that feedback, or if they were to come to the school and they do have feedback, how is that received? And how does it relate to other places you've worked or other methods you've seen?
Yeah, student feedback is really important. It's a great barometer for how your curriculum is designed, how your instructors are doing, where the industry is headed. Our students are a wonderful wealth of information. It's amazing. I can't tell you how many times that a student has asked me a question, and I have to say, I don't know, but let's go figure it out. They're so interested. There's so many pieces of this industry, and they're so interested in various pieces that they come and ask such great questions that it drives not only them but myself to learn more. And that's pretty amazing. But you get that student feedback, and you tie that in with feedback from other places, whether it be from the industry itself. What are manufacturers and employers and that type of stuff in the gun industry looking for? Because ultimately, we're hoping our students go out and get a job, right? We want them to go out and work in the gun industry. And so to make them marketable to those employers, that's what we've got to focus on. We've got to tie some of that in as well. And then you get feedback from the government agencies that over education and firearms, and you take that into account. And so you take all of this feedback together and you kind of put it in a blender, for lack of a better term, and mix it all up and then decide, okay, well, this feedback said we need to make this change, but the industry is telling us that change is not quite there yet. And so while we want to include this, we can't, because we'd be excluding something that the industry is absolutely asking for, so on and so forth. And so it's an interesting blend, but not only does it provide the chance for us to possibly modify courses, it also provides us a chance to have the visibility of what our students are interested in and what the industry is interested in. So student feedback is super important, but it's got to be gauged along with these other stakeholders in the process. So
Mm-hmm. I know from a faculty perspective, we love our students. We love them sharing their feedback. We love constructive criticism. We like you getting when students get antsy and they get a little feisty. That is the collegiate. The benefit of a collegiate experience is to work with peers, and that's what I think of as a gunsmith who's practiced for 13 years, and but I don't know everything,
right.
And there's a whole lot of things that I need to learn, and I grow from the students, and I see them more on a peer level. They have their own experiences that they're coming in with. A lot of our students are veterans, and they have had experiences overseas with platforms I haven't had experience with. So it's a cool learning environment, and like Jarred said, it's what you put into it. It's I have students who will come in, and no matter how much I try to engage them, they're in and they're out. They're doing their work and they don't associate anymore. And then I have other students who are extremely active. They're active on email, they're active in the discussion boards, they're active in the assignments, and they're active with each other. And those are the students that I see really making that difference in the industry. You're talking about, you don't know where it's going to come from and or what form it'll take, like the future technology, but I do have a strong feeling it's going to be a student of Sonoran Desert Institute that's making that change, those leaps and bounds in the industry that will later affect how we present curriculum. And hey, they just made this new side niche, I guess, of now gunsmithing is doing this, and our students can shape that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to see that experience and how it grows. You see students that get engaged and really are passionate about their education, and it's amazing to see the growth that those students have. So, I mean, I've if you go back and look at my history as a student, I've got lots of different degrees. I've done a lot, and I've done school lots of different ways. I used to joke about that as well. I've probably done school just about every way you can do school, whether it's apprenticeship, a bachelor's degree in person, a bachelor's degree online, a master's degree out, all this stuff. And there's something about any of those experiences when I look back on it and honestly with myself say, hey, did I really put all of my effort into that experience? And then say, yes I did or no I didn't. And oftentimes the ones that I say no I didn't are the ones where I felt like I didn't get as much. It really comes down to what you put into it. Much like anything else, whether that's a job, family, responsibility, whatever that is, it comes down to what you put into it. So, but the chance, the opportunity to get knowledge is amazing. And probably the other amazing thing, is with this industry, we are so particular about putting a good product out. Oftentimes we're working on something that someone may put their life on the line with, right? You've got a military member or a police officer or something like that this is their duty firearm, and they're going out to protect us in some way, and having to use that firearm to protect themselves and defend us, and so by golly, that thing ought to work, right? And so we've got that mantra of it's got to be right. But I tell you, I've learned more from the mistakes that I've made on my bench than I'll ever learn from the things I got right the first time. So I try not to shy away from mistakes. I'm going to make them. It's okay. What I always try to do is focus on making sure that product is the perfect product when it leaves my shop or my bench. Making mistakes along the way, that's okay. I'll learn something.
Well, and part of making a mistake is to reach out and try something you've never tried before. I think that's something, when we talk about technology, why do you have to come to SDI? You can get that technology somewhere else, couldn't you? But if you're doing that, I mean, going through a formal schooling process, you're guided along the way. You have mentorship. You have that ability to ask questions. But it's so easy to get trapped in, tunnel focused into what your skill set is and what your comfort level is, and not to branch out, not to be challenged. And I mean, I get that when I was working the gun counter. I got that all the time. You would have people that came in, customers that come in, and they'll annihilate you. Like say I answer or I say something wrong about an AR platform,
Right.
and they'll just go crazy, go ballistic, because they know everything there is about the AR platform. And as a gunsmith, you need to know a wide array of things. But they know everything there is about the AR, but they don't know anything else about any other platform. And I think that's the hole that a lot of people can get stuck in, because they don't want to look like they don't know.
Right.
And I think that going to college gives you confidence to say, I don't know, but I'm willing to experience new stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And how do I experience it safely? Not to get too nerdy, but how do I take the scientific method and apply it to a firearm? I'm getting this result. I need to get this result. What do I do or change or whatever? Oh, by the way, people call that diagnosing a problem, right? But I'm walking through a set of steps, and that's the really cool thing about this industry is, yeah, I don't know everything about every gun. That's okay. I understand some broad mechanical principles that then I can apply to the system that is in front of me, whether I know it or not. And I can work logically through that mechanical system to either determine that it is working correctly or there is a flaw in it. Where is that flaw? What do I need to do to fix that flaw to get that system to work the way it was designed? And it doesn't matter. There's thousands of gun designs out there. Lay one on the bench. I probably have never seen it before. Because we see a lot of the common guns, right? You see common stuff regularly, and you get that oddball one every once in a while. But a good gunsmith, a good student, because gunsmiths are going to end up being students for life. They're going to keep learning because there's just too much to know in the gun industry. But you sit that gun in front of them, and a good gunsmith is going to absolutely go, you know what? I think this operates this way. Let me start narrowing this down. I've got this piece that does this, and I've got this piece that does this, and I've got this piece that does this. And oh, by the way, this operates kind of like this system does. And away we go.
Yep.
So it's awesome because you're never going to run out of stuff to learn. And I'm one of those folks that I realize that there's a lot of things that can be taken from me, but knowledge is not one of them, So if I learn something, it's mine. It's there. And so I'm going to look to continue to learn things along the way and hopefully guide some students in the same mindset. Let's learn things together. Let's grow together. Let's make this industry better together. So
yeah. I have a perfect example, actually, what you were just saying about taking the knowledge those broad mechanical understandings of how a firearm functions, which is actually just an internal combustion engine. So if you understand a firearm, you actually know what a vehicle, you know about a vehicle, or about a lot of different mechanical devices. But one day I got a shotgun in a bag. You talk about a firearm in a bag.
Firearm in a bag. Nothing more fun than a firearm in a bag.
The only thing that wasn't in that bag were the barrel and the stock. Everything else was in this gallon-sized bag. Hadn't been together in 40 years, and they don't know if all the parts are there. And here, put it back together. And I still, to this day, I figured out what type of model it was, but I had never seen it, and I can't even remember to this day. But I poured out the pile of parts, and there was no disassembly manual, reassembly manual. It didn't exist for that gun. So it's looking at the components, relying on my understanding of how other firearms function, relying on my understanding of the cycle of operations, and that firearm went back together. It was a really cool design, actually. I've since forgotten what the model was, but
Sure, yeah.
but it went back together, and it worked really well, and it went back together actually in not very much time. And these are old. This is an old firearm, and you know how old firearms are. They have a million pieces. It's not your Glock where it's a few pieces.
Simplicity of design was not a key hallmark in older firearms designs. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, and it's me relying on that experience as a gunsmith, and like I said, the education that our students are getting at SDI totally catapult them far forward of what I started out with.
Yeah, yeah. And the great thing about that is you now have got a customer that is, is endeared to you, amazed by you, whatever the term is, but you've gained a customer for life. You've taken something that, frankly, they probably walked into your shop going, this is probably never going back together. Who knows if the parts are even all there, right? Mm-hmm. And you take that and turn that into a functioning firearm. I mean, there's nothing better. Not only did you mechanically be able to walk through a system and put it back together and have the satisfaction of doing that, but you also get the satisfaction of returning a firearm to a customer who probably had zero thought that it would ever go back together. Mm-hmm. And so seeing that joy in those customers, getting to coach those customers about how that firearm functions and how they should use it safely, that's just a side benefit to the mechanics of all of it, Mm-hmm. So getting to pour into not only students but customers is amazing. Mm-hmm. One of the beauties of online education is that you get to do some of this on your schedule. Now, don't take that the wrong way. There are times when you're going to have assignment due dates and that type of thing, but you're going to have time to make those fit. So be aware of what your classes are, be aware of how they're laid out, know when your assignments due, and plan your schedule appropriately. But you can expect a online education that mimics that of any other great online institution out there.
Having been a gunsmithing student and now reflecting on the students that I deal with, I again go back to what I said. It goes into what they put into it, but a student has the opportunity to look forward to building friendships. Like I can't tell you how many friends I've had or how many students I've had who have become friends with their classmates and have linked up afterward, and actually students who have become friends with their instructors and have continued that relationship. So you just have, as a student, you have the ability to come in and learn something you didn't know before, grow confidence, grow humility, and which in our industry I would say is kind of hard for some of us. I would say that I have a hard time with humility sometimes, and I try to have a humble attitude, but we need to have humility to know that there's always something more to learn. And so yeah, it's just a confidence booster. I think it's mainly just, it's wonderful.
So for the students that maybe only own one gun, or even for the students that maybe have never picked up a gun, can you become a gunsmith? Absolutely. Do you like mechanics? Do you like learning about how systems work? Do you like figuring out problems? That's what a gunsmith does. we're mechanics for firearms. That's what it is. And so, absolutely, there's nothing that says owning firearms or not owning firearms drives you to or away from gunsmithing. That's just not the case. Um, you know, it's a matter of looking at yourself and saying, I like this. I like understanding how these systems work. I like figuring out what the problem is and fixing it. And that's what the key to gunsmithing is. And so, absolutely, you could be a gunsmith.
I was that student who only had one firearm when I went to gunsmithing school. It was a 1911. It was a Taurus 1911. A lot of people are going to pick me apart on that one, but I actually really like the Taurus PT 1911, and it doesn't look like a Taurus anymore because I did a lot of work to it. But yeah, I mean, I tore that gun apart. I learned about it. I tore it apart, and you'll learn that, I mean, we harp on the cycle of operations, but it's so important because that same cycle of operations that is part of that 1911 is also in the M2 machine gun. It's also in, it's in a pump action Mossberg 500. It's in every firearm. So it doesn't matter how many firearms you own. You don't have to own every single firearm to understand how every single firearm works.
That's what's amazing about virtual learning. Because we're in a virtual format, the schedule is on a weekly basis, but there's not a difference between day classes and night classes. The classroom, your virtual classroom, is open 24/7. Now, what is the flip side of that? Your instructor may take 12, 24, 48 hours to reply to you, okay? So don't procrastinate. Ask your question early. Ask them often, but understand that you'll get a reply. But you can do it at whatever is convenient for you. If the time that you have is because you're in a family and you've got a full-time job, and the time that you have is from 10 p.m. to midnight, been there with you. Sit down and do your schoolwork. Family's gone to bed. You're out of job mode. Get your schoolwork done. Get up and get ready to go the next day. Right. So it's really on your schedule, within the confines of making sure your assignments get done in the weeks that they're required.
Yeah, I would echo everything Jarred said, and one thing I would add to that is, our students don't utilize their instructors enough. I know for me, I post my office hours, and even outside of those office hours, you give me a call, and I'm more than willing to talk to you, even for a couple hours if you need to. I love talking to students, and so, I mean, I guess that kind of goes along with the question, but I'm there. We're there for you to even during your hours. We're there for you to interact.
If you look at other industries, the medical industry is a great example. There's not a amazing heart surgeon in every major city, but there is a teleconference, and you've got a heart surgeon that may be trying to learn a new procedure, talking with the heart surgeon that's done that procedure hundreds of times, and now you've got a doctor that's confident to do that procedure on a patient that can't be transported someplace. It's the same idea. We're taking technology and using it in a way to, while we're not in the room with our student, we have the ability to show our students the things that are important and that help them gain knowledge to become a gunsmith. And we're doing that through technology, whether that be delivery through our online classroom, whether that be a student engaging an instructor during office hours, or a student making an appointment with an instructor to catch them on a video chat. All of these things are options. And so using all of those mediums and techniques is how we become effective as an online school and how we can provide a great experience for our students.
Not to go too much in the weeds on that, Jarred, and I don't want to steal anything, but you guys aren't sticking your head in the mud and not looking to what technology is going to bring in the future, and already, I mean, tell me, you're already
We're always looking,
gearing for that, and not to say anything specific, but I know that you guys have already your sights ahead down the line, and I tell you, the things that are coming out, it's better than hands-on. You can't, hands-on is, I mean, you always have to have that hands-on, but having that technology behind it is going to be amazing. I mean, look at anything technology-wise. We can't go a day without looking at our smartphones, or, I mean, that's just how everything's going. So why wouldn't gunsmithing be the same way?
So the question that always comes up is, how do I get started? Well, it's pretty simple. Jump on sdi.edu, hit the apply now button, and the admissions team will get in contact with you. Or better yet, look down below in the description, and there'll be a link there that you can hit to get you to that apply now page.